The smiling and dancing, so bring your friends along. The music is magic, that's why we spark the song. And I keep the beats rocking on, and it don't stop. You know we kick it. Let's spark a flame, shake this establishment. It's the soul rap movement, 100%. It's time for revolution, let's reshape the shit for the people. The music, the art, and the passion. It ain't the money.
Adem Tesfaye is a Madison, Wisconsin native, New York City-based MC, songwriter, hip-hop guitarist, music producer whose music style has deep roots in hip-hop, funk, reggae, and blues. Adem draws his inspiration from artists like Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, Tribe Called Quest, Gang Starr, and The Roots. His craftsmanship of storytelling is unique and rhythmically hypnotic. Adem's stature on stage and baritone voice ooze with sexy richness, heartfelt warmth, life wisdom, and command. Having lived in Seattle and NYC, his sound is an elixir of grit, instrumentation, big stage performance, and Broadway lights. Adem released 2 solo albums, D is Ill, The Sickness, and At the Age with producer Rick Flowers, Manny Sanchez, and Matt Muller, and shared stage with acts like Redman, Method Man, De La Soul, Farside, Ben Harper, Spearhead, and Jazzmatazz. His latest projects include Adem Tesfaye Band and The Binks, a NYC-based blue funk band with a hip-hop edge. So Adem, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me, Ankita. I feel privileged and blessed.
Please tell us more about your childhood and what gravitated you towards music, especially soul music.
Well, my whole family was rich in the soul music. My uncles were probably the biggest influences. They were dancers and performers. And there was always instruments around in the house. And, you know, even my stepdad at the time, he was really into DJing and soul music and funk and hip hop. So I was always surrounded in that space. It was, you know, 70s, 80s, so like all the soul music was really hitting the radio stations. And you know, growing up in Madison, there was only a couple of radio stations, and so happens WORT was one of the radio stations that played the late night soul music, the Universal Soul Explosion. So that's where I got a lot of the music and the influence. But mainly my family, like my uncles specifically, they were a big influence, and each of them, there's 4 of them, but 3 of them in particularly would give me different music, you know, at different paces, and open my mind up to a lot of different stuff. So that's pretty much where I got all my influences, my inspiration from. Other than the artist, of course, like, you know, your Michael Jacksons, your Bob Marleys, and Prince, and whoever was popular at the time. You know, it's not like today, but you know, the big artists, it was so great. Everybody kind of wanted to be like them because they were so spectacular, and it got me too.
Yeah, the showmanship as well. You spent a considerable amount of time in New York. So if I was to ask you to compare the music scene in New York and Madison, what would you say?
You know, I'm not big on comparisons. I think it doesn't give each place its own due just, but I will say that if you're a competitive person and you're in New York City, it's going to work to your advantage because there's so much competition there, and the standard is, you know, it's New York. It kind of speaks for itself. I would always tell people, it was like when I'm doing my show down in the West Village, it's that versus, you know, Lincoln Center Jazz, or, you know, Broadway, the Lion King, you know, so there was just a lot of competition. But the Madison scene is really cool too, because it's smaller, you get to meet people easier, you know, depending on where you live. Obviously, New York is huge, so it creates a different dynamic in culture. But Madison scene is cool too. A lot of shows. I was moving back was very surprising for me, the volume of shows, even, you know, post-pandemic, because I came back at the beginning of the pandemic, so everything kind of shut down. But now that things are opening up a bit, there's enough events going on where I feel like everyone was like running around, going to different shows and stuff. So I think they're equally special in their own ways. You know, if you're a big city person, New York is definitely great, if you're a smaller town, you get a lot out of this town. This town really produces a lot of music and a lot of musicians. So they're both equally great in their own way. Yeah.
So you would say there's different, equal but different sort of flavors for hip hop and soul music in New York and Madison.
Well, you know, I will honestly say that just coming back, I don't know all those resources yet. I don't know who's who really, because the city isn't fully opened up, and I haven't been here long enough to really give it a full comb. But I will say that from the short experience that I've had, there's a lot going on. I hear there's a need for more culture, and I just look to bring some instead of want to consume it. I want to add to it. I think a lot of times that's the difference. You know, my approach is always, as soon as I got here, I wanted to add to the culture. I wanted to, all right, I'm here, I want to play. You know, I want to give back to my community. So like, that's the difference too. It's easier to give to the community here, I imagine, than, because in New York, you know, everybody's somebody, but nobody's anyone. So the difference is you can get involved in your community a little bit easier here, I would imagine, you know, without the red tape, and like people are open, at least to me. I can only speak for myself. Yeah.
So like in a perfect world where you could choose any one celebrity or a musician of your choice, and you can also even, you know, respond with multiple musicians, who would you go for and why?
What I want to play with?
Yes, who you want to play with and compose music with, or be on stage with?
You know, funny, one of the guys I want to play with is a Milwaukee local guy, Evan Christian. He's just a great musician. He's a friend of mine. I like to work with him more. As far as the celebrities and stars, I wouldn't mind, you know, doing a track with a guy like Pharrell or Pharrell Williams, or maybe will.i.am would probably produce a really cool track. Also would like to, you know, I would love to do a song with Bob Marley, obviously. Or Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest would be fun to do something with. Dr. Dre, of course, he always comes, you know, I cover some of their music, so that type of stuff, that'd be really cool. Lenny Kravitz, because he's a stud. Prince, if he was still alive, would be great. You know, there's so many great artists, and you know, those are more popular artists other than Evan. And my Uncle Tim, I like to do some stuff with my Uncle Tim. He's a cool dude. I get to play with my other uncle, so that's, you know, that already kind of liqueur Yancey, so that kind of like nails that one in the bud, so I don't have to chase that one in. I think who else off the top of my head? I really like the voice of what's her name? Man, just left my head. She's in that band, Alabama Shakes. Last name Howard. But she's got a really cool voice. It'd be fun to play. I don't know all the popular artists as well as I like to admit, but there's so many great musicians out there, you know, that you could spend your whole life trying to play with them. You know, Bill Withers, Stevie Wonder. I'd like to do something with who's the greatest, Quincy Jones. I mean, God, you know, these guys would just take this stuff and just make it take it to a whole other level. So that would be really fun. Some of those are some of my favorite people.
Those are really good artists. Like, I've heard some of their works, and even though I'm not from here, they got me hooked. So we've seen that you've been doing some sort, like a lot of events around in Madison, and I was wondering if you can tell our listeners what more type of events would you like to do?
Well, I like to do a combination of like a larger scale type of thing. I enjoy doing like the Majestic and the High Noon Saloon and the bigger stages. Any bigger stage where I can do a combination of the soul and the rock and the hip hop, where I have enough time to display enough art. You know, I traditionally like to play at least an hour and a half on a larger scale where we can bring, you know, anywhere from 300 to 800 to 2,000 people, the Sylvie. That would be ideal, just so we can really give a good presentation. I really enjoyed my crew, and I think that they could really, you know, thrive in those spaces. You know, just giving them enough room and wattage to really be heard as well. You know, so more events like that, more cultural events, more events where we can support other local artists and other causes. things to bring more culture to Madison in general, and positive things, food and exercise events. Actually, and more conversations and workshops around relationships, because I think that the key to life is having healthy relationships with other people. And so if we could do events that just spread the word around that more, that'd be really great. And it's hard to do, so that would be the type of events. But mainly like nice size stages where cool people come together and it's really cultural and you get diversity. That would be my ideal events.
So your current band, Adem Tesfaye band,
Yes.
I've personally seen them perform and been great. But I would like to know more about how did it come up around, having the band that you have today?
Well, it started with LaCour. He's my anchor. He's always been there for me and supported me, the bass player. So he's like, he co-songwrites some of my material as well. He comes up with the lines, some of the bass lines. We've written a lot of music together. So him and I, we played together for, man, how old are we? Some 30 plus years, when we started the Black Poet Society. So he's always been in the band. And the new drummer is a young guy. His name is Stefan Marshall. And funny enough, I saw him jamming. He was doing a jazz jam, and I was like, who's that kid? I just heard his timing, and I was like, wow, he's great. So I kind of hunted him down a little bit and was like, hey man, you got to come play with us. I think we really come up with some cool stuff, and we just built a really cool rapport. It took about 3 months for us to actually come together and start really playing together, as I was playing with other drummers at the time, and it just kind of worked its way at that point when everything kind of just lined up. And then the last guy is this guy named Alberto Doses, yeah. He's a producer, so he produced his own record and music videos, and we became friends first, and we hanging out and talk about music, and then I was like, yeah, you should come play with me, and just tugging him in, pulling him in, and that took about 4 or 5 months too, and we just built a rapport and a relationship, and then we started playing together in little practices and stuff, and then LaCour came in, and then we just had this really cool chemistry, and it felt right, and it still feels right, and I feel like I'm really excited to work with these guys going forward. I think we're gonna make some great music and produce some great shows, and that's how we came together. It was just the stars aligning and us being in the right place at the right time to meet each other and like the music that I write. It seems like everyone really likes it, so that makes it easier. And they're all fly. They're really dope guys. You know what I mean? Like, they're good character guys. They take care of themselves, and they're inspiring. So it's easy to be around. Like, when we rehearse, it feels like time flies. We're just like, oh man, it's already blah blah blah. Man, do we have to break type of thing? But yeah.
Your new single is releasing March 11th, which is not even a month away from today. Tell us more about the song that you're releasing and what inspired you to write it and compose it.
I wrote this song when I was in New York. Actually, it's not I wrote it a couple years ago with my band The Binks, and The Pressure of New York. So the name of the song is 2 titles. One title is called Pressure, and then the second title is Let Me Hit It One More Time. And there was a period of time where New York was really tough on me. I was going through a tough relationship breakup. I was trying to survive New York, transitioning out of a career into music, and then my brother was murdered, and then and that inspired the song Pressure. It's on your mind. It's that feeling like New York is about time and speed and pace, and it really inspired it. And it was like bluesy and funky and rock all in one, and it felt really right. It felt like the right song to put out now, because everyone's kind of trying to understand the pressure of the new world that's happening, and now everything's changed so much since the pandemic. So I think everybody will like it. I think it's a cool song. It's a little different. It feels relevant right now, and so I'm really excited about that.
So where did you film the song?
I filmed it in our studio here. We did a like a classic like in studio theme. We wanted the theme to be like
Tiny Desk concert types?
well, no, we wanted it to feel like that feeling you have when you're coming out of the light. So we wanted to visually stimulate you to kind of like peer into it more so. So the lighting is very specific to a feeling that we wanted to create. Gracie and I. Gracie is the videographer. She's behind the camera right now. Hi, Gracie. And we had worked on one video first, and that didn't work out. But it's still hopefully we'll use that script at some point. So we decided to go with a little looser script and dealt with the movement of the song and dance and recovery. And we shot it here in my studio, in my space, which is really nice, and has a nice painting that Carrie Morgan painted in the backdrop. And it was really fun. It was one of the fun days. Joe White's in the video, and McCore's in the video. And we filmed it here. It was great. It was a good time. We're really, really excited to put it out and introduce it to the world. That's March 11th.
I'm so excited for the release as well, and I'm pretty sure our listeners and viewers cannot wait for it either. Thank you for this awesome interview and spending time with me tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It ain't the money, it's the culture, the children, and your actions.